Michael, obviously you've had a free week. How much have you enjoyed having that and time on the grass?
Oh, it's always great to have a bit of time with the lads. They've had a bit of a rest as well, and we've come back into training, and it's good to see some of the newer faces again, because they came quite quickly and then into a game. And then obviously we're waiting for a few bodies to come back from international duty as well to see them. But it's always good to get on the grass, get some training into them, and then ready for the weekend.
Injury wise, everybody okay?
Yep, nothing update wise. I don't think that's changed over the last couple of weeks. Tom Bayliss has come through that tackle, so he's been training all week, which is great news, because I thought, when you saw that at the weekend, you don't know how that's going to end, but he's done really well, so he's good to go as well, so that's great news.
On Justin and Dexter, obviously they played against each other and would have had a long journey back and not had much time with you. Are they in contention for the weekend, or will it come too soon? Yeah,
probably in contention, but it might come a bit too soon. So, not only is it they've been playing and we don't know them yet, so we haven't seen them in the building on the grass yet. They're long travel for them, whereas Ivan's not so much travel from where he's been. So always the challenge with international players isn't just whether they make it, it's the amount of time zones they travel, whether they've slept enough or not slept enough to be ready. So we'll have a look at them over the course of today, tomorrow, and then we'll see.
We've been speaking with the PFA this week about their pre-season camp, which obviously Adam Reach was on. How beneficial is it for you as a head coach to have players who will then become available at Adam's time that can go straight in as he did for you on the trophy game?
Yeah, I think it's a great initiative by the PFA. I think it supports those players at probably lower level that are slowly not getting contracts. So I think it's really good initiative in that sense, and it keeps them ticking over. And there's nothing like training with a group than there is training on your own. So otherwise I think those players would be training on their own and they wouldn't be as ready if they did get back in. And the challenge for them is to get back in, and there's always different reasons why they are in or not in. But for someone like Adam, who's he's had 90 with us and then come on last game, he's ready to go, which is great. And he wouldn't have been able to do that if he'd not been with that programme, because he wouldn't have been getting the numbers or the training method that going into him that keeps him ticking over, if you know what I mean. It's definitely not the same intensity and the same level, because it's obviously different. And one thing is they need to keep fit because they're out of contract. So they're not pushed nowhere near as hard as we have to push them in terms of high performance, but it's definitely a good basis to come back into a club like Adam has.
Without revealing your team selection for the weekend, obviously with Riley's suspension, he's the natural person who would fill in. Would he be ready to do 90, do you think, or is that something you're going to have to come?
No. I think I think one thing around we have in this building and the pros, they look after themselves very well anyway. So, Adam's just added to that. So when you look at the senior players in the group, they look after their bodies very well. I think you only have to see that Adam and Sonny and Colo and Tendai, they look after themselves very well. And to some degree, the younger players need to look up to them of how they look after themselves. And the reason why they are robust and they have so many games, they talk about the best thing is about being available for selection. And, Adam's come into the building and looks very, very sharp already. So I have no worries about him doing 90 at all.
You spoke last week about the booking situation, the discipline situation. Speaking with Ben House today, he's pointed out he's better than he was. Is that part of the learning journey for the players, that they have to go on that, certainly some of them the younger end?
Yeah, I think we have to look at it in isolation. It's a bit of a strange one how we've started, because we never start like that. I don't even think we're a dirty team, if that makes sense. So I think there's a few, when you look at each game in isolation, it's a bit odd. There's been a few cards flying around, which is natural at the starts of seasons, when referees want to get a grip of things. And some are when I say discipline, it's not for tackles, it's more for dissent. But we haven't had that many for dissent, and we always talk to the lads about improving that area. But yeah, so I think what we don't want to do is become too passive and not soft. But in the same sense, we do have to manage it, because we need to keep players on the pitch. So it's a difficult one to find the balance with the lads. But for sure, we have to improve that side of it, because we can't have 10 players on the pitch out in 50% of games, because we won't do what we want to do. So, but then if you look at those situations in isolation, they're a bit strange. But it's something we've got to improve. How we find the sweet spot of that is the next thing.
It was a much changed side for yourself and for Burton in the cup game. Can you read too much into that game going into the weekend or not?
Probably not through the personnel for both teams, and probably not through the the night, but you can definitely read in terms of how we want to play, maybe how they want to play. You can take things from their other games of how they're trying to play. So there are some bits and evidence in there, but you can't wholly rely on it. So we've done a lot of work on them and how they've played, the last few games against league opposition in the league. They're a tough team to play against, especially away from home. It's a tough place to go. The game never seems to settle. We're going to have to be at our best to get some points out of this game. And, we've been okay at home and we wanted to pick more up at home. We're unbeaten at home, but to get points out of these games away, they're different, and we have to be solid and we have to be, controlled in what we do. But they can beat teams, and I think when you look at League One at the minute, it's everybody's beating everybody, because if you're not on it, you get beat. So the most important thing is concentrating on ourselves, and hopefully we can do the business.
And the fact you've only lost that one game at Wimbledon, how much does that please you as a start, despite, as you say, wanting to win more matches, but having that as a core at the moment from your opening?
Oh yeah, when we talk to the lads, if we feel like we can't win it, we don't lose it. That's a big thing we talk about. If we can't win the game, we don't lose the game. But I think we could have had a couple more points in winning. But it's been a solid start. Including the cup games as well, which has been great. Gets us a Chelsea draw at home, as you know. So I think 10 games in, and it's been a solid start. And we need to keep that solid foundation, and we need to keep that solid base. And whilst we're doing that, pick points up as much as we can. And like I say, points on the road are always really valuable. At home, we want it to be hard to beat and try and get more points. And we'll keep doing that all season. But away from home, we want to be solid and make sure we can pick points up as well.